Okay, hello. Welcome to DevKami 160. Merry Christmas. So I'm swimming.
Merry Christmas, and I am Tristan.
Yeah, actually Christmas is on the Saturday. I mean we all on leave on Saturday, so it's a bit sucky. But the good news is in some companies we got uh, so since quite a lot of people are Christian, so as a result half of the people got left leave early for Christmas. Then as a result, you
Mm-hmm.
just like, oh fuck it, all of you guys enjoy yourself. I do not know
Mm-hmm.
whether that's happened because to me I'm at home anyway. So that's Christmas on Saturday. So I'm going to greet you early. Yeah. So what's your plan for Christmas? Makan, church, the
No,
usual.
nothing the other usual, nothing special.
Okay. So yeah, Christmas. Usually, I'm going to say this. There is real cultural reason for it, but for most of us, it's a celebration of consumerism, which a bit,
Mm,
yeah. On the other hand, it's meant for you to spend your time with the families and all that. Malaysia have multiple celebration for that, so it's a bit
mm-hmm.
cheapened, but you get the idea. There is a real reason for Christmas culturally, and this it's not about consumerism. That being said, Merry Christmas. Have fun if you got a holiday. I know a lot of you guys having a long holiday anyway, so enjoy yourself. With that said, let's start with our event. Go money, you can forget it. Never going to happen anytime soon. In fact, I think community is having a break end of the year, so we won't have anything until next year. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
we're very likely not going to have anything until next year. Was it Penang? I think Penang one might be soon. I think they might just do it for next year as well. So that being said, yeah, not much happening for Christmas. But that being said, stay safe. Don't go crazy. I know Spider-Man is out. I know it's very good. I didn't watch it yet. It had implication for the whole Marvel universe, but I didn't watch it yet. So do the right thing. Don't go crazy. Watch the SOP, etc., etc., etc. So that being said, let's start with our bus corner. So the first one is actually randomly selected because I found this on Hacker News. So this is actually called the session extension for Sqlite.
Is this
So
new
it's
for Sqlite?
I do not believe this is the case.
Mm,
Uh,
okay.
it's 3.17. What's the current Sqlite version?
Yeah, well,
Give me a
it's at least it's 3. It's not an older Sqlite.
3.37. So yeah,
Yeah,
it's
November, so
not the
it's quite
newest
new, right?
list. Yeah. It's reasonably new. It's an
2016.
extension. Correct. So what happened is this is actually a mechanism to record changes. So put it in change set, and this is the reason why you want this is so that you can have a undo. So let's say you do a proper transaction, and you want to organize your operations as transaction. Then what need to do is you need to have a change set. Then only they'll commit your change set. Otherwise, you would just drop this change set and your database would just be as it is. So this is a typical use case. Uh, in theory, SQLite is meant for files, but you can use it for networking, and this is where concurrency is useful, so that you can have multiple of those together, multiple
Mm-hmm.
users to control your database access and all that. So yeah, it's there for a while, but SQLite are not quote unquote designed for concurrency purposes, but if you need it, it's there lah. So yeah, SQLite as a result, SQLite is one of those Swiss Army knife of file-based database. You can run SQL on it and whatnot. Next one, Arduino had a new IDE release candidate 2.0. They're finally using Atom.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought they were using
Atom.
Theia. Yeah, they're using
Oh
Theia,
yeah,
right? No?
Oh
not
yeah,
Atom.
it's Taya. No, it just looks the same. My bad. It's Taya. So it's more modern now. It's more modern and a lot of things. Traditionally, Arduino is built using a thing called processing, and processing is actually processing and the Arduino IDE, Arduino as a hardware actually share the same philosophy. Processing is I won't call it a language. It's more like a language extension. Traditionally, it's Smalltalk or was it JavaScript? So it's one other language and it's designed with a lot of libraries, for artists to build interactive, interactive artwork. So, but processing are designed like PC computers, for your website and whatnot. So which is why they got P5JS. It's actually had a lot of concept comes from processing. So Arduino as a result also uses processing IDE because they share the same DNA of sort. But me, I'm just glad that they go into a more modern way because there's a lot of criticism for the Arduino IDE. For one, it's not Git friendly, and you do not have a lot of things that professional engineers actually need, like debugging and whatnot. So what do you think? Are you excited or you just like, we're just going
No,
to use platform IO instead?
no,
I
I
mean, I would
haven't
like,
done Arduino in a long time.
yeah.
Like I don't.
Interesting
Yeah,
is,
usually it's the JavaScript ones or trying out MicroPython, but not Arduino.
yeah, interesting. Nowadays, I tend to use platform IO. But that being said, there is time where certain things are packaged nicely for Arduino versus platform IO. It's a bit more work, but it's not by much. So that being said, I think I heard Chi Leong in. Hello, Chi Leong. How are you?
Hi,
Merry Christmas.
just fix my computer.
Okay. So this
Mm.
one actually, okay, this one is partially related to what I work on. So recently I was to design a documentation system for the team. But as a result, I found this. This is DevDocs.io is actually the documentation for all the okay, very common tools, very common tools used by developers. So as Visualize is called DevDocs. How it works is that they have a scraper that scrape documentation website, major documentation website, and then they compile it to make it as a place that is easy to search. So yeah. So as you notice, a lot of it is scrape and all that. This is useful because this can serve as an index. This serves as an index for you to search for documentation. So it covers everything from Erlang, ESBuild, of course you have the Python, Ruby, etc., etc. Major thing is that, and it's awesome. So if you want an index of developer tools, here it is. Dev.to. What do you think? Interesting, meh?
Mm, I prefer Google. It's easier to search. I think it's
Yeah,
difficult to like if you know what
you
you're
can
looking
search
for
here.
as a reference book, yes, but you can. But it's for example like convert integer to string
Yeah.
Ruby. So
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
it's going to
Makes
be
sense.
difficult to do something like
The
that.
the benefit of using a
Yes.
static type language is that the IDE is
Well, for
also
you,
the
right?
documentation.
Mm.
Correct.
So
So, which is why one of the things I will thankful later. But let's move on. But I like the idea. I like the effort. But yeah, you're right. Next one. This I'm going to cover briefly. PinePhone had a malware. Why I do not know, but apparently it happens.
there's a malware because just because
Yeah.
somebody can do it
Yes.
and nobody
Correct.
check it.
Correct. So yeah, it's there and all that, lah. La la la. So yeah, I think that's about it. Nothing much here. It's like Linux lah. So if you're a Linux user and you don't really double check everything, you get what you get lah. So, and sometimes the source code is so complicated. Sometimes you don't even know if somebody put in a backdoor. So they are right in a way that you should not expect the user to always know about vulnerabilities. These were things like most common desktop operating system done correctly. But it also means that open source means they have one transparency. But the catch is somebody need to watch it. Somebody need to see it. So yeah. Move on. This is yet another library. I just put it here just because it's interesting. Yet another hand-drawn chart library. Originally, some of this library originally started as a response to a joke by XKCD. XKCD was known to have some chart in cartoon form, hand-drawn form. So as a result, a number of people actually using SVG capabilities and build hand-drawn chart. So I find the aesthetic interesting, even though it doesn't feel 100% hand-drawn, but it's nice. What do you guys think? Meh?
I don't know. I don't know how to use this.
Okay.
You know how to draw.
Well, yeah, but if I'm going to draw, I'm going to do it in Figma or something else, right? Not in JavaScript.
Correct. Oh no, this is more like style. So, or you really want to do that, you would draw it on a paper and scan it and highlight the color. What I mean?
Yeah. Like if I'm already implementing it, I'd rather use the correct widget library to do it and then mock it up there instead of using a different library and then translating that again to the final widget library. So it's a double work
Yes.
if you're doing it like
Correct.
that. At least I don't know. Maybe I'm not using it correctly.
Yeah, but I think it mostly as a one-time thing because people that do hand-drawn chart tends to only do chart and not the full application. So this is yet another fix for the Log4j vulnerabilities. This is all the fixes for Java version and all that. Yeah, with mitigation and all that. So yes, upgrade it, update your patch and whatnot. So yes, anything to add on this? If not, I'm gonna move
No.
on. Log4j.
Just check it out.
So CSI, this is actually the computer. CSI stands for what? Let me double check. I forget the name. Computer Security and Information Security Agency. This is actually the equivalent of. It's not NSA. NSA is about spying. This is about defending computer infrastructure in the U.S. government. So they released a list of services that is affected by the vulnerabilities. So it also contains I don't think they have a here. They have a software list here. So it's a big list as you can see, because Log4j Java is used in many places and those things tend to be using Log4j. So as a result, ta-da! So yes. So even on AWS it does well. AWS fix it for you lah, but just know that this is a very wide ranging vulnerabilities. So yeah, be careful out there. So remember Tristan that you asked that what if Wasm is used for hardware as a runtime, as a language for hardware and whatnot, right? So these are example for Wasm for building a fantasy console. So yes, it's there, it's coming.
So you can put
Wasm
a browser
will
on a
be-
device and have it run Wasm.
Yeah,
Wasm
exactly.
interpreter.
Yes.
Then your
So-
console is an Electron shell.
Yes.
So-
So in this case, so this is a simulation of a hardware, but once you have simulation, it potentially, I really hope would convert. Somebody will implement this whole thing into FPGA. Then yeah. So Wasm 4, this is a runtime for you to write game. Just because. Well, I think it's interesting. I find it interesting. It's still programmed in JavaScript, but it just compiled to Wasm actually. This TypeScript, but it compiled to Wasm. Then you just share the bytecodes around. Fascinating. Weird. What do you think? If not, I move on.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
It's too early, so the early too early technologies we don't really have anything much,
correct.
I guess.
So actually, this one is okay. I think recently the law make it so, the court make it so, but it's something coming for a long time because uh, it started with
It's been in talk for quite a number of years, not number of years, even decades.
yeah. So it's about torrenting and all that. That is old news. What is new here is actually it's just streaming. So not too long ago, MCMC actually restrict licensing for Android boxes. So it doesn't mean they cannot use Android boxes. In fact, if you use Astro boxes now, those are Android boxes. It's not special. It just means that you had a small list of approved Android devices that you can use for television. In this case, like the Mi Box, I think is approved. I believe it's approved. So there is a list, but it's not. You just can't buy a box, and the excuse for it is streaming. But MCMC do have power for that, and they have legal power for that. They have legal power for that, and the reason why they have that is because of so let's say you use a telephone. Let's say you use a wireless telephone. The ban for US, for example, is actually very different than Malaysia. So when you bring this over, you will potentially cause interference, and it does cause interference. As a result, regulation exists for that reason actually. So, and this is the same law used. This actually is the same law used for how to actually enforce the use of Android boxes lah, because those are communication devices. So now the law, what new in this is that if you, let's say you stream and share things from Netflix, so now that's made explicitly illegal in court now. So this is the only thing that's new. Otherwise, business as usual really. So yeah, 20 years have been there for a long time. In fact, people find it ridiculous that uh, copyright infringement had the same penalty as murder, right? I mean, some murder give you death sentence, but
Yeah, but it's indifferent in that, in a way that it's just like some of the financial crimes, they are
yep,
pretty heavy as well.
yeah, correct,
So I think
correct,
it would be classified under that.
yes.
Not that I
So
agree
next one,
on it, but yeah.
yes. So next one is 80% of Steam top 100 games that work on Linux. I can attest to that. It mostly work. The game mostly work. The only reason why it doesn't work on my PC is because I run out of disk space. So Proton support only gets better every year, and
Yeah.
I've been playing quite a number of games for Proton. I mean, last year until recently,
Yeah.
because I need to install more IDE. So as a result, those things takes up more disk space. But it gets better. It's get a lot better. Though I think Stardew Valley is stupid because Stardew Valley is native, so there's no reason for it. But ProtonDB, go to ProtonDB, and most game would work very well. Top game would work very well. So if on Linux, don't worry about the fact that you will bored to that. You will not bored to that. You will. But the Linux world is getting very weird lah. Put it this way. On Linux, you will use a Windows compatibility layer to play Windows game. Then on a Windows, you will install a Linux compatibility layer of sort to run Linux programs so they can program. So yeah, maybe 2022 is the year of actual Linux desktop. I don't know.
Linux is already everywhere, just not as
Yes.
a desktop.
Yes. It's behind the scene. Though I won't call Android a Linux machine simply because the user space is different. You know, the GNU/Linux versus Linux. So
Yeah, but you talk about Linux, right? The kernel.
yeah, correct.
So it's more like Android slash Linux, because
Yes,
your what do you call this? Your tools are mostly Android Java
correct.
stuff, even though you have a
Yes,
Linux kernel.
yes. Okay, this one I'm going to cover shortly. This is actually a Unix traditional story. So Unix sysadmin had a lot of failure story and it's very scary. But it's from this story that we actually learn,
We
and
learn,
often we
and also it
face
makes
the
us
same.
humble.
Correct,
Yep.
because Unix is what I like to call a timeless system. It's something that have the same concept running since forever, unlike your modern day cloud services, right? So, and this is a story that makes you learn and makes you humble, because running this kind of system takes skills and interesting for modern day, because nowadays we expect things to just quote unquote work. But I like Unix in a way that, so it doesn't work all the time, but when it doesn't work there is a reason. Unlike proprietary system, when it doesn't work you do not get the reason, and sometimes that's it. So yeah, this is also another lesson I learned. On the Unix system, when it fails there is a reason to fail and there is way to recover it. Often there is way to recover it. A proprietary system, yes, it quote unquote works. Most of the time when it doesn't work there's no reason it doesn't work, and you're pretty much screwed, because that's what happened with Windows machine occasionally and the Mac machine
Uh,
at one time.
I
Go.
disagree in terms of I have to bring it up. JavaScript libraries. It stopped
Yeah,
working in, I don't know. Try good luck running it. Good luck running
yeah, yeah, yeah,
your
yeah, yeah, yeah.
3-year-old
But
code.
Unix is timeless, but JavaScript is another
Yeah.
story,
I
right?
mean, I mean,
Python.
yeah.
So, like for example, security tools sometimes written in Python. After a while, it doesn't work anymore, and there's a reason why it doesn't work, because the damn script doesn't. It's not written in for Python 3, right? Or
Yeah,
they're
it
using
broke a lot
old
of
Python
stuff, lah.
3 thing. Yeah, correct. So yeah, I'm gonna move on. Cool story. I will compile all these things in one end of the year story before next week. I hope, if I don't procrastinate. Maybe I do it during Christmas. Next one. This is actually the smallest functional language apparently that you can fit into a floppy disk. No, actually boot sector of a floppy disk. So the boot sector floppy disk only 512 bytes.
Yeah, but
So
but Leaps is
yeah,
Leaps is minimal. Leaps itself is
yeah.
minimal.
It's a very minimal language with garbage collection. Brainfuck is smaller, but they don't count it as a true language. So
If I want to compare Leaps is like JavaScript, it's actually
yeah,
less. I mean, because it is a language itself. I mean, it is
correct.
only without any standard library or anything like that. So
Yes,
people tend to rewrite their own things. So the saying of a Leaps developer is they are good to work alone, but not as a team. As
correct.
a
Because
It's often used as an example. Not, I mean, not
correct.
saying that all of them are that way, but that is the trend within the language.
Correct. Because Leaves, you have ability to build your own tools. Because of macros, you can build your own abstraction. But everyone have their own abstraction. As a result, you get weird very fast. And you think different people writing code in the same language is bad, right? This is actually the bad one. But either way, cool record breaking. And also it's able to run proof assistant, so it's not a toy, it can work. And so yeah, it's just a silly thing, but I think interesting. Next one. Oh my goodness, 30 minutes already. I'm going to quickly do it. Okay, so this DNA in the eye of the coder. So
Yeah,
this is using programmer
I
analogy for.
I roll my eyes when I see the title, but I had I skimmed through it, then I found out that it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's actually very good. So the thing is, it's not 100%. This article shows that genetic is not 100% code the way we understand it.
Yeah.
The way we understand
And
it, but
the same data doesn't is expressed differently at the different
correct,
parts.
correct. So it's 100%, but it can some analogy helps you to get started with genetic. So yeah, I will post this as well. You want to this cool war story about using CFS, Postgres on the CFS. Cool story, very interesting stuff. A lot of tuning, very good stuff. Miller is a tool for manipulating and reformatting data. Everything programmer should know. Read this, for goodness sake, read this.
There's the Humble Bundle book
Uh-huh.
that you showed last week, the 97 things
Yeah.
a programmer should know. I
Yes,
think
that one is
that's
highly
a
recommended.
different one.
Yes, I would bring the book out. It's there somewhere. It's between the whole stack of books. But let's move on. So this is like CGI but for WebSocket. So or if you're on the Django, the Python world, the Whiskey D and whatnot. So yeah. Interesting, but
This one is pretty good. Yeah,
yeah.
had a look when that is this one is
So you can pipe your REPL
basically
to
uses
WebSocket.
standard in and out
Yeah.
as the interface to work with other program.
correct.
Yeah, so
correct.
that
So
that
it's-
means your REPL can be connected to WebSockets, right?
Yep.
Or
yes,
parted.
correct.
Yep.
Correct, because you use standard out loud, which is cool, awesome. Then this one quickly, just I will say quickly, and hopefully China do not catch me. Alibaba actually, Alibaba will lose Chinese government support for 6 months for not reporting to the government first. So yeah, that's about it. So today is about thankfulness. I know we have Thanksgiving for that, but also appreciation because it's Christmas, and Christmas we tell the truth. Except I forget my Love Actually bought somewhere. Oh, you do not know about Love Actually bought. I will show that later. And also because it's the 3 weeks. This there is one more week before the final week. Next week is the final week. This is the week before the final week of 2021. So last week we talked about things we can buy for Christmas. This week I want to talk about things you guys discovered and I discovered along this year. Then next week we talk about what we hope for the future. So yeah, let's start. Things I discovered
I-
this year. Go on.
I don't have any. I'm racking my brain. I don't actually. The year just went by too fast. Unfortunately, I don't have anything I remember.
I found out that we got used to not eating out at night
Yeah.
and going out at
Yeah.
night.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
that
discovered
time,
that.
Yeah, I'm surprised how short it is to like programmers to oh it's night so stay home.
Yes. It's also interesting that the money that we use for food are used in somewhere else. Right? It's crazy.
I don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
so-
So that's it.
No problem.
If you probably budget your time, your money, yes. But I guess I did this.
So, okay, let's start with things I discovered. Serverless technology. Serverless technology. Specifically, I'm going to start a new tab again so that you can see all my pawns. Okay, things I discovered. It's called serverless.com. Serverless.com.
That's actually quite quite representative
Uh-huh.
of serverless technology.
Correct. This is actually very
Error
representative
server
service technology.
cannot be reached. No, that error message that you got cannot be
Correct,
reached most of
correct.
the time. Your
They have,
Amazon AWS is down. Well, not most of the time. Like it's been a lot. It's been 3 times.
yep. Interesting. What they have new thing now. So what we have here is actually serverless framework. Their main product is serverless framework, and serverless framework is actually a wrapper for different services. Originally, is I believe originally only for AWS. Then they expand it, and it actually handle all sort of events and all that. So first thing I learned is serverless technology, and why I want to put this on the first thing that I think that's interesting for me to learn is it's different than the usual way of building software. What do I mean by that? So it goes like this, right? When you're on serverless, you things like having a SQL database feels a bit clunky, especially you're using AWS. So and the reason is in the when I build, let's say I use Django because that's what I'm familiar with. Rails have that as well. So when you build your web application, there's a shell that we can call for us to investigate the data, check the database, at worst do data SQL query on the same shell, right? On the same shell that make our life easy and do that. On serverless, you do not actually get a shell to manipulate data. In fact, I'm going to show you a piece of code from this documentation. I hope there is. No, a better idea is actually this one. API gateway. I try to find the code. This is not a great example because they got a lot of stuff. The getting started. Oh, actually, it's user guide. User guide provider. There are examples. So I'm going to use AWS on Python because that's what I'm familiar with. I should just go to GitHub actually. I should go to GitHub. To the Git repository. Because it's representative, so you got a handler, then you had a function, you register the function, then you do your thing. There is no entry point for you to debug your code like a shell. It either works or it crash. So you can potentially to debug the code you can invoke locally. And when you but the good thing is, so let's talk about bad thing I don't like first. It's a standalone thing, and you will have you effectively writing multiple when you deploy a set application, even though on the quote unquote monolith style, you're still deploying as a multiple set of functions. In serverless framework, how they do that is, let's say you build with all the libraries in one packages, one directory structure. So each of the Lambda instance will get the same copy of the file with different entry point. So that's one issue I have, which is not optimal. It occurs to me that what they want is you should build small applications, each of it independently.
Literally Lambda, right?
Yeah,
Like
correct.
something
So
that takes
otherwise you will
input and then output something.
correct. So you just don't get your Python shell to debug code. And if you want to use a SQL database, it's a bit awkward because I ends up had to create a EC2 tiny instance or small instance, very small instance lah. Just so that I can install PSQL or MySQL, wherever that is used, to connect to the database to change things. So and also outward for other things like running, migration, and whatnot. So why I find this interesting because I have to change the way I think about software development. But on the other hand, they force you to think deploying software quickly. But also the way AWS do serverless is that it only works better if you choose to use Amazon's AWS technology, meaning this will only work better if you use DynamoDB. This will only works better if you want to have if you want to have a SQL database, relational database, then you should use Aurora serverless. So they will try to upskill you because these are the tools that have interface for you to progress, write it without you setting up the networking and whatever in the EC2 instance to connect to a database. So yeah, this is the first thing that is different, but so I like it in a way that you don't really care about infrastructure. On the other hand, that's only partially true. You do care about it, but you care about it differently. So you do not care about uptime. You do not care about.
You don't care about.
So it meant to stop and all that. but
Let others care about the uptime. You'll hear about it on Twitter. Oh, Amazon is down. Then
correct.
you don't have to monitor uptime yourself.
Correct. But no, actually it meant to die. So this service meant to die. So this thing doesn't last forever. It can it lasts as long as you need it. As more connection connected, they will use it. They will use it. But they will die. Like it will. So the point is, it's a very different way to build application, and also, it got good and bad way. Mostly good for convenience, bad for lock-in. So that's my problem.
But by the way, this Python code is very confusing because you have, I know it's Python, but it looks a lot like another language because you have braces that's just misindented. Like it's very confusing.
Put it this way, serverless framework people are JavaScript people. So their primary language is JavaScript. So, which is why they update so fast, which is weird. And the setup is using NPM. So, yeah, that's like the first sign that they are JavaScript people. So this is the first thing I discovered, and there's love. It's a love-hate relationship. Like put it this way, it's a love-hate relationship. So this is the first one. Anything else you guys want to add before I go to my next one? So my next one is cloud technology. Again, I use it professionally. Do you remember the time you had to set up your own syslog servers? Right? Oh, you never set up your own syslog servers. Damn it, lucky buggers. So at one time I had to set up my own
you have
syslog
other
server.
mechanism. You are not limited to syslog.
Yeah. I used to set up a syslog server, but then I also configure my DNS server. But then, it's a lost
Did you
skill.
ever configure email server from scratch?
That I don't have to do.
Lucky
thankfully.
bugger.
Yes. Okay, so cloud technology. So this is why I go into cloud technology, specifically AWS, because that's what I use. It makes your if you set it up properly, you will get logging for free, logging system for free, which otherwise you have to set up a third-party thing for you to monitor your log. But it's not as convenient as people say actually. In fact, as I discovered recently, if you do anything slightly different, you're not going to get any savings. So what do I mean by that is, if you just want if you just had a request and response web application, then yes, we'll get some convenience for cloud-based technology. But let's say you want to do something slightly outside. For example, you need your API you need your service to call a third-party API outside of AWS. Now you need to set up VPC and all that. VPC and network access. As a result, those cost extra money, so it's not as cheap as you want it. If you want something slightly just outside of that, so what you get from cloud is different. It's not necessarily convenient actually. There is convenient part. The logging is convenient. You don't have to set up a lot of stuff. Email is convenient because it's an API to call. But to set it up is another thing altogether. So for example, let's say people maybe don't have this problem because I have slightly different requirement. So things like I need a database. So I create RDS. Then to use RDS, then I need to set it up. So on the VPC, why I need a VPC? Because everything need a VPC nowadays. But to create a VPC, it should give internet access. So I need to have their own setting. So as a result, I need to create a VPC, then set up the EC2 instance, then you set up the log group, then make sure the database connect to it. It's a different complexity, right? So when people say cloud is easy, cloud is not easy. They just switch complexity from one place to another. That's what it is. But it's different. I appreciate it. I mean, nowadays you don't have to go to a data center to check your own server anyway. So it's different. So yeah, cloud technology. Thankful because they provide some convenience. Not so thankful because it's another sort of complexity. And it hide complexity from people. They are very good at hiding complexity from people. That's what I don't like about it. As a result, people just
what you're willing to sacrifice, I think.
Yeah, correct.
If the part is that if you don't have to manage the hardware, the logs, everything ourselves, then it's kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And
Well,
also,
you have to study the trade-offs that they're like.
Yeah.
You are captured, or like this is a captive
Yes.
thing from
Yeah.
because
Correct.
you have to use their systems, right? But if it's convenient,
correct.
Yeah, convenient,
the
but
benefits
in exchange of what? I mean,
Yes,
then
correct.
yeah,
So
you
for
have to understand what
example-
you're giving away.
Correct. And it used to be before. What's our hosting? What is our hosting again?
not
Uh,
using.
What do you mean our hosting?
The static site hosting that we use is
Netlify?
called Netlify. Before
Netlify.
Netlify, so to deploy a website, what you would do on AWS is create an S3 instance because there is dirt cheap. There's dirt cheap. You create an S3, then you set up a static site. Then you compile it into a format that is right. Then you put it in front of CloudFront for the CDN. Then you publish it out. Maybe use Cloudflare as use whatever CDN that you have. You can use AWS one, or you can use Cloudflare, whatever. But that's the standard way those days, right? With Netlify nowadays, you don't even need to do that nowadays because you just compile and they just handle the hosting and all the level for you. So it used to be it makes sense if your hobbies and all that to use S3 to host a static website. Nowadays you got Netlify, so I'm not so sure anymore. So yeah, it's just different lah. I kind of appreciate the fact that cloud had tools to help, but it's their own set of complexity. That's it lah. Because
But
otherwise,
even then, you didn't have to use AWS just to host a static website. You can just FTP your files up.
Correct,
after
correct.
it's,
So-
like, everything is done. That's
There's
like
a lot of
simple. That's like
options.
how you
That-
do things
yeah.
now.
You can even host it on
Yeah.
your CDN.
correct.
Mm.
So, but for example, let's say I use my favorite one, Linode. I will set up a Linux box. Then I will set up an Nginx server.
For
Nginx.
static,
Yeah.
you don't actually need that.
I used to use Nginx, but nowadays I use something else. I forget the name already.
No, I mean, for static site, there's a lot of free option out there.
Yeah. Days before I discovered Netlify and all that lah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So-
and GitHub Pages, I think.
Yes. And you want to set up your own web application on Linode, you set up database on your machine and all that. Is it any different? I don't know. I don't think it's any easier or harder. It just switching from one set of Lego to another set of Lego, right? So yeah. So that's what I appreciate about cloud technology nowadays. So anything else you guys discovered? I don't want to be a monologue.
Not really related to tech.
No.
Yeah. Talk about that. How about that? Not related to tech. What you guys appreciate and all that.
I discovered that it's not so bad. Vegetarian is not so bad.
Oh yes.
Well, depends on-
use
Your recipes, I guess.
yes.
I mean, the options out there is plentiful as well.
Yeah. Actually, Malaysia had a lot of vegetarian restaurants around. It's not as
Oh, you're talking about
It's not like per
vegetarian
capita.
eating out,
Yeah.
not vegetarian cooking yourself,
eating
because
out I mean, cooking.
Yeah,
Basically,
okay.
cooking myself is at home is almost pretty much vegetarian,
yeah.
but
But-
eating out is
It's not too bad
Right.
because we had. It's not hard to find vegetarian restaurants around. I do
and they're
not know
very
you,
good.
but
I mean, the surprise is that they can be pretty good.
yes, they are very good. I don't agree that it's actually any healthier because once you deep fry those things, it's still oily as hell.
No, not those things.
But-
I mean, after going through more options, is that there are some really healthy and tasty ones.
Yeah. I've been through those places lah. I've been through those places, and they can be tasty and healthy and all that. Yeah, so we should try it. Actually, we should do that next time when Omicron is gone.
Yeah.
Once Omicron is gone, so yes,
Yeah.
once
For-
It's gone as in new variant.
yeah, it replaced with another. Once
Isn't it?
maybe once they run out of Greek characters, then they're going to use the Romans one. Then after that, they're just going to give up and put version numbers and call it done.
They're
So
gonna-
that being said-
they're gonna give up and use semantic versioning.
Yes. This is how.
Yeah,
this is
so
why
for-
planets are named. you
It's
know,
something I
man.
discovered. So it's sort of a rant. Also, is that people, apparently they are a group of people that took, that assume that semantic versioning is the standard, the only way to do versioning. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Tristan, what you want to add?
No, I was saying that I learned quite a bit with OBS, like trying things out
Yeah.
with OBS.
Yes,
So
OBS
it's,
is fun.
Like for example, the background right now is actually the office background, but
Uh-huh.
I can look as if I'm actually in the office, but not really.
Yep.
Okay, I thought you're in
So-
the office.
No,
Yeah.
this is just a background. So this is
Like a
actually
fake.
from, yeah, I took a picture from where a webcam would be, and then
Yes.
like where I usually had my webcam, and then I just use that as a background. So it's
But that's-
it's quite. The lighting is interesting. So yeah, it's a lot of things, a lot of fun things you can do with OBS, like the processing of the videos, image, the scenes, etc. So it's a good way to practice, especially since we're doing all of this streaming and stuff. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yes. So for next year, here's what I want to do. I will forget about it once I do it. I will finally do the newsletter.
I was going to mention that as one of the predictions for next week. that in 2022 Swimming is going to do the newsletter, but I guess I don't know. Maybe that will jinx
Yeah,
it.
let's do it next week.
Oh, before
Let's do
before
it
the
next week.
newsletter, you need to do the Buzz Corner something
Yeah,
that
correct.
that collects the links at least
Guys,
into a
Yes.
document.
submit your feature requests to Swimming.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Since I quit Advent of Code, which reminds me Advent of Code. Advent of Code. I appreciate that I didn't finish it this year again. I was sick for 3 days, then it get complicated, love. That one I'm very thankful because that's an exercise of abstraction and understanding. Good abstraction helps you make the problem a lot easier actually. Except for day 16. I know the abstraction is a parser, it's a bloody parser. I know how to write it, but it's the rule is so
I
complicated.
skipped some of them because things have to catch up.
Yeah, so
Unfortunately,
but it's a good exercise for you. It's a good exercise of
Yeah.
abstraction actually.
it actually helps. It's just every year like things are getting easier. I mean, because in a way, it forces to think the another way.
Yeah, correct. So for example, you would think like a two dimensional grid should be represented with x with array of n times n, right? Not true. I mean, you may end up having that. It's actually easier to use like a key of two numbers, right? To do that, for example. That's what I discovered. So abstraction helps lah. So yeah, that's what I appreciate for Advent of Code. Then of course guitar. I still sucks at it. But
Yeah,
it's about it's learning
be
about
consistent.
learning.
Yeah, just be
Yeah,
consistent. Just keep doing.
correct.
Which I failed to
It's-
do this year. It just
Yes.
I thought you were doing the piano this year, no?
yeah, no, not I don't have really time to do it this year. There's the crunch
Yeah.
was pretty bad. I hope that
Yes.
that is something that I can get rid of next year.
Yeah.
The crunch and productivity doesn't represent productivity. It's just a lot of time wasted.
Correct lah. So
So I
which
hope
is
that
why
can be
one of the
resolved next year.
Yep. So which is why one of the things that I try to introduce to the team is
The bad news is that also the I can't crunch anymore as well. It's just that it caused enough damage to my body. So yeah,
yes.
sort of I need to recuperate. So in a way, like I won't be able to do it, and also won't be doing it.
Yeah. So yeah, something I try to bring to the team lah, because my team, the team that I work with is very young. So everyone in the 20s think when we're 20s we think we are invulnerable.
It's a good lesson, and also something to
Yeah.
good lesson for everyone is that maintenance work, like even though like when people can deliver, like the maintenance work are the one that are going
Yes.
to take us more time to fix. Like
Correct.
just it's
Correct.
better to I mean to have a bit of overview of things, like the
Correct.
quality of code, everything. Like
So yeah. So
my
one of the
oversight
thing I
was
try
that
to-
we assume everyone is performed the same, so it's an
Correct.
oversight. There is a lesson
So
learned.
yes. So one thing I try to bring to the team is precisely that lah. Think deeper about the solution. Do not assume that solution will be replaced. Things are rarely replaced. So you have to think a bit deeper. You do not get rewrite all the time. In fact, a project that keep rewriting is actually a bad project. So that is I know we have
Soft-
I have a different problem.
Solve
with
issues,
members.
I think it's more about solving issues.
Correct.
Go
And knowing the
solve
cause of
issue.
solving problem, knowing the knowing the cost that you're willing to make at that time, at that moment. So sometimes you really, when you deliver, then you do a lot of cost, make the cost clear to all the stakeholder. They may forget it, but make it clear that it's there lah. So you have to
Oh,
keep
you
reminding
don't
people.
make them forget it. That's why there's an email trail or like documentation
Yeah,
trails.
correct.
So those
Correct.
decisions are not forgotten.
Yes. So which is another thing I try to introduce good documentation. The point of documentation may stale, but the point of that is and the goal for that. So instead of thinking that documentation by scale, think about the general goal. The goal here is essentially like this: you should able to go to holiday, and nothing will burn in when you're not around. So that's a
Also,
point.
if recently for me is that if there's a question like what's the concurrent use? I mean the concurrent user of this system is that it should be answered quick. So that
Yeah, correct.
if it cannot be answered, that is a sign that we need to account for that. So
Correct. So, yeah, which is another thing which I need to introduce again. We need to start measuring our application. Had an idea how many people using it right now, and what's your performance. But the best way for the best way for you to know for sure is not to guess, is to measure, to
Yeah.
measure when you can. But know start knowing how many
Measure
people using the
and
application.
has observability,
Correct.
visibility of the
So
system.
have an idea. Okay, if you can't do a load test, had an idea how many people use it and how's the load of your system now. If you don't even have the basic thing like loads or call time and number of calls, you had a problem. Start finding out. Right? You need to do that. Start measuring the basic things that you think basics. Load is basic. Number of call is basic. Number of user. Start knowing about that. So those
The expiry
are
of the
things that you need
credit
to
card is
measure.
basic.
Correct. So know that when you need to
I'm not joking.
update.
It's something that that do not
Yes.
assume that especially these days, like I think streaming complain a lot is that do not assume that your subscription will go through.
Correct. I'm going to change my credit card. Apparently, people with good credit
Yeah,
score
you can share when
good
you get
credit
your
card.
new card, you can share your number, so I can.
Yeah,
test
I
it
will
for
share you my CVV. I will share my
so I can
CVV
te-
too
so
as
me
well,
and
right?
Tristan can test it out for you.
Mm-hmm.
How many
Yes.
services that are going to block your card?
Yes, I'm going to give you my CVV too.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2021 to me is a time for me to learn a lot of stuff compared to last year. But then every year I always find excuse to learn things lah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a good
Every year I always find excuse to learn things lah. So that's the
It's a good thing
pattern
lah.
for a while. Yes. So next year it's not prediction. It's not prediction, but next year what I probably replay next week anyway is I'm probably going to explore the world of higher level languages on embedded devices. With a focus on JavaScript, right, which I don't like, but it's there. So why not? Then I'm in a position to explore more operation thing. Reason why I don't know, I can't say yet, but if you see my position change on LinkedIn, you will get it lah. But it's not confirmed yet. Really. But I'm in a position. I got an opportunity lah. Put it this way, I got opportunity to learn more about how to do operations in a team. So that's
fun.
next year. So yeah, actually, people, it's the boring things lah. So, but people.
It's not a boring thing.
unfortunately
It's
don't-
actually the hardest thing to do.
it's tedious.
Coding is easy relatively.
Yeah, correct. So that's next year, and those are things I expect to learn next year, and maybe I share to you guys. I hope.
Have fun.
Yeah, and maybe I even get to play Johnny Be Good next year. I hope.
I get to play at least like we can play Carol of the Bell.
Yeah.
Shit.
My My ambition is a bit lower. Jingle bells, just jingle bells, and that's it. And maybe I can play the full round of Wild Things by the Trucks, which is easy. So yeah, that's 2022. So 1 more weeks until 2020, end of 2021. So next week we're going to
Yeah,
predict
of
the future.
I hope it can be. We assume that it's gonna be over, but apparently this year
No, yeah.
is worse. I mean, in terms of
Put it
the
this way.
case.
Put it this way. Apparently, Mother Nature is a better software developer than JavaScript. They release version of the same virus faster than JavaScript developers. Oh, actually, not true. I think JavaScript libraries release more version this year than the COVID-19 virus. I can't tell anymore. So be careful. Be careful. Be careful. Wear your mask. When you get your booster, take your damn booster. I got my second shot late, so I only get my booster a bit later next year. So get your damn booster when it's offered. Wear your damn mask. If you watch Spider-Man, put on your mask throughout the movie, please. Then don't go crazy over your parties and food and all that. I know we're sick of it, but yeah. if nature,
What party did you?
long
Must be
story.
missing them.
Yeah, swimming is a social person now. Very different
Yeah.
from
What
before.
party do you mean?
So
He goes to parties
make it
now.
so that there is no user base for COVID-19, so that nature do not release new version. That's how I would say it. So with that said, thanks for listening. Merry Christmas for those that celebrate it. Be good, and hopefully you do not get cold this year. Yeah. Don't go crazy over parties. I think we should say goodbye now.
Yeah.
Ta-ta.
Bye.
Bye.
See you again next week.